Singapore was an extremely poor country when Lee took over more than 5 decades ago. This is a country that is the size, about a quarter the size of Rhode Island, the smallest U.S. state. So it's tiny. Despite that, its economy per capita is stronger than Japan's. It is stronger than Germany. Citicorp says it will be the wealthiest economy by 2030. How much responsibility does Lee deserve for that incredible success?
Lee has everything to do with it. We would not be where we are without him. He came in, he knew what needed to be done. He studied countries around the world. He looked at the policies that worked and would work in Singapore, and he said, this is what we need to do. And he really got everyone together and galvanized the forces and said, you know, in order to survive, this is what we have to do. So
and
we owe everything.
Is that the general opinion in Singapore? Because I know there still is significant wealth inequality, but on the other hand, more than 90% of people own their homes. So is he still very popular across the board?
He's very much revered. My parents' generation, especially my father and my mother, you know, sort of lived through independence, and they loved him. My mother's wearing black all week, and you know, my parents' generation really saw what Singapore was before. It was very poor. It was very small, and you know, it was very chaotic. There were race riots in the 60s, and he came in and he said, you know, we've all got to work together, or we're never going to survive. And so they really see everything that came through. If you look at Singapore today, there's a little bit of a dichotomy. My generation probably takes a lot of that for granted a little bit. We grew up with the affluence, we grew up with the, you know, the inexpensive healthcare and everything, and we sort of push back a little bit. You know, we sort of look to the West and say we want a little bit more free speech. You know, we want to.
Right, because he certainly has been accused of running a bit of an authoritarian state, a nanny state, where, you know, at one point he banned chewing gum.
Yes.
So was this great financial success at the expense of some human rights?
Well, I mean, to be sure, you know, there were a lot of restrictions when I was growing up, and there still are to some degree. You know, I think a lot of Singaporeans will tell you that those were necessary at the beginning. You know, with such a small country, so many different races, people from different backgrounds, and such a small space, you really have to have rules in place. And so I think that's what really happened. But as society matured, you know, people like my generation really looked and said, okay, well, you know, what's the next step? And so that's what you're seeing right now. People are pushing back a little bit.